Pike, Worcester's Rock Station, and Billy Squire. In the studio right now, we have Chef Kevin Comellas. Am I saying that right?
Comellas.
Kevin Comellas, one of the people involved with Havana Nights, the new Cuban place on Park Ave here in Worcester. We were in desperate need of a Cuban place here in the city. And now you guys are opening another location in the Worcester Public Marketplace.
That's right.
And that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow,
right? Yeah.
11 a.m.
Nice. So everybody should go check it out. The only other Cuban-style place I can think of in the city is maybe Cafe Reyes.
Cafe Reyes, yeah.
Which is a good place.
It is, and the kind of program and everything that they've put together over there is very, very honorable.
Right, that's a good deal. But, I love Cuban food, and I'm so glad you guys opened up, and I'm equally as glad that you brought in some food this morning.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, what did you bring in for us this morning?
So I brought you a couple of things that we're going to be offering at the public market. So one is half of a Cuban sandwich.
Okay.
It's on our house-baked bread. We do about 300 loaves a week of bread. It's phenomenal. It's done by hand, rolled out, proofed. We do a sourdough starter. It's legitimate Cuban bread. You can't get it around here. I brought you also a sandwich that's called Elena Ruz. It has a really famous history, kind of more in Miami Cuban community, where Elena Ruz was a Cuban socialite, and she would go to all these gatherings, and she never wanted her breath to stink. So she, a Cuban sandwich with the pork and the garlic and the onions,
and the pickles and stuff.
You better know what's going on after eating it, so you're not offending anybody. But the Elena Ruz is smoked turkey, cream cheese, and guava marmalade. So it's like,
oh my gosh,
it's almost like the Cuban version of a Monte Cristo.
Yeah,
and you don't get that funk going on after eating it. So that's kind of what that history is. And then I brought you a couple croquetas. So those are the ham fritters. Yeah, you got to go with those. So
and what did you bring, Adam?
I did not know there would be a second party involved.
That's all right.
But we'll share. We're going to share.
Well, check it out tomorrow.
He doesn't know what that word means.
Yeah, right, sharing. Come on. Down at the Worcester Public Marketplace. You can check it out there. And Adam, you had an excellent question for Kevin here.
Yeah, so let's say a couple goes into this restaurant and has never eaten Cuban food before and said, for dinner we want to try a couple of traditional dishes. What would you recommend?
All right, so for I would say the most entry level, a person that's like very overwhelmed with what Caribbean and Latin and Cuban cuisine is, absolutely the Cuban sandwich. That's the most accessible. You got your Swiss cheese, your ham, your pickles, your mustard, and then your lechon asado, the roast pork. So there's a lot of elements that are accessible in other cuisines in the Cuban sandwich. So I think that's a good starting area.
Okay.
If I was to go for like a main dish, there's a dish called vaca frita. So that's shredded beef. It's sautéed like in high heat oil, so it gets a little crisp to that shredded beef. Peppers, onions, garlic, lime juice, salt. Like that's literally it. But like that citrus element to the beef, it's next level. Eat that with a little white rice and then some sweet plantains. Like it's out of control. Obviously, Cuban cuisine is known for its black beans as well. So you got to have some black beans. And we're really known for some seafood as well. So we do a dish called camarones enchilados. So that's a shrimp, essentially a shrimp stew. So it's in a sofrito, tomato base. It's got the shrimp, and it's all kind of cooked down. It's just really, really good, hearty. It's all kind of comfort food, Right.
Yeah. So would you say that Havana Nights is more traditional? Like, is this something that people like Cuban people would go in and say, "This is what I want tonight. I want comfort food.
Absolutely,
I want a little taste of home."
Yeah. So it's by far the most authentic Cuban restaurant. I'd say there might be one other one in Massachusetts. Our chef Lázaro, he's been in the States like less than 2 years. From Cuba, was a chef in Cuba for more than 20 years. He's making, without sounding reductive, he's making that classic Cuban peasant food, that everyone grew up eating. Growing up in Miami, my mom was cooking every night. It's the food you're putting on the table after a long day of work, and there's no frills to it. It's just all about flavor and execution and technique. And, kind of my part in this whole thing is taking what he's doing and then trying to put some fun fusion twists on it with our brunch menu and our late night menu. And
in southern Florida, and when we went through the Florida Keys, we made a few stops and got some, was it coffee cubano? Is that what it was called? Cafe cubano?
Cafe cubano, yeah.
We really enjoyed the coffee. Is that being served?
Absolutely. So
Yes.
we actually have our own custom roast of coffee beans that we
wow.
serve. So my partner Julio, he did a whole tasting of that must have been 40 or 50 different roasts in a whole day, like just pure caffeine overload. But
You must have been up for days.
yeah,
It was so good. It's
Yeah.
very different.
yeah, you settle on a roast that like has a strong acidity to it. That's like the biggest thing with Cuban coffee is like the Arabica beans and that espresso is like very high in acidity because we sweeten our espresso. So then we hit it with the sugar, and then that actually all Cuban food is all about like that sweet and sour and that acid and sugar and
Because there's a lot
and
of like
salt.
citrus involved.
It's
Yeah.
all, if I was to personify Cuban food, it's citrus, garlic, cumin, and oregano. Like that is, and then tomato. That's literally 90% of anything you're going to get in Cuban cuisine.
That's awesome.
It sounds
So,
amazing.
Are you guys planning on doing any kind of traditional Cuban Christmas dinner? Basically, what I'm asking is, you're gonna pull out the giant pig, like the whole pig?
Well, the plan is we're going to be promoting this very soon, but for those people that don't want to cook for Noche Buena, and we're planning this next year for Thanksgiving as well. We're going to be doing food for pickup. So, pans available, rice and beans and pernil, which is the roast pork, and even turkey. But that pork, to your point, that's that classic whole pig that you cook in what's called la caja china, or the China box. A crafty Cuban immigrant in Miami created this thing, and it's essentially a wooden box that's got some aluminum sheet slapped on the side, an aluminum sheet over the top. You throw the pig in there, splayed out. You put a bunch of hot coals on top, and essentially, you're creating a top down, almost like a broiler effect. That slow cook that pig. The skin gets super crispy, and it's like. That's tradition. Like every year growing up in Miami, that was a thing. And
That was like the Christmas Eve.
Exactly. Yeah.
Dinner,
Noche
right?
Buena, Christmas
Yeah.
Eve. That's what's big for us Latinos. Christmas Day is like you're hungover, you're hanging out, you drink your coffee, you eat a little breakfast, and then you just veg out the rest of the day with family.
Sounds wonderful.
The Christmas Eve, that's party time.
Nice.
Salsa dancing and eating some pig, and it's great.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for coming in this morning. Havana Nights on Park Ave. You guys have been open for a few months on Park Ave.
Yeah, in June.
And then tomorrow, the brand new kind of mini location at the Worcester Public Marketplace, right there in the center of the food court area.
That's right, Little Havana. So
Nice.
the concept there was to take that kind of little window service you might get in Miami at all these Cuban restaurants, those walk-up counters.
Yeah.
Create that
nice.
vibe here in Worcester. And, we're serving the coffee, we're serving the pastries, Cuban sandwiches, and we're doing Cuban bowls too. So almost like a Caribbean version of those Mexican bowls that you might see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you very much for bringing the food.
Of course.
I don't know if you can tell. I'm totally sweating after talking about all the food you're talking about. I am so hungry right now. I'm just triggered. So,
It's time.
It's time. All right. Kevin Comellas.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Chef at Havana Nights and the new Little Havana at the Worcester Public Marketplace, which is going to be open tomorrow.